In 1990, a full set of Encyclopedia Britannica cost $1,400. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $3,000 today. It was the gold standard of knowledge. The result of over 2 centuries of expert scholarship, bound in 32 leather volumes. 20 years later, Encyclopedia Britannica printed its final edition. The institution that defeated it had no paid experts, no central editorial office, and it was run by an army of anonymous, unpaid volunteers. It didn't just outsell Britannica. It made the very idea of a printed encyclopedia obsolete. This is the story of a radical business model. A model that weaponized community to build the most comprehensive repository of human knowledge in history. We're talking, of course, about Wikipedia, a non-profit website that destroyed $1 billion industry, not by building a better product, but by building a better system for creating a product. A system that continues to operate on a budget that is a rounding error for its tech giant peers. So how did a chaotic, volunteer-run project achieve what centuries of curated expertise could not? How did it build an engine for knowledge that scales infinitely, for free? That is the question we are answering today. To understand Wikipedia's disruptive genius, we first need to understand the world it entered. For over 240 years, Encyclopedia Britannica was not just a product, it was an institution. Its business model was built on 2 core pillars, authority and scarcity. The authority came from its process. Articles were commissioned from the world's leading experts. Nobel laureates. Renowned historians. Each piece was then rigorously fact-checked and edited by a professional staff. This created an unimpeachable brand. If it was in Britannica, it was true. This authority allowed them to create the second pillar, scarcity. A full set was a significant financial investment. The knowledge wasn't just valuable, it was expensive. Their distribution model reflected this. Britannica was famously sold by a fleet of door-to-door salespeople. They weren't just selling books, they were selling intellectual status. The business was incredibly profitable. The cost was in the initial creation of the content. After that, they could simply print and sell new editions with minor updates. It was a high-margin, low-volume business. In the 1990s, the first cracks appeared. Microsoft launched Encarta, a digital encyclopedia on CD-ROM. It bundled content licensed from other encyclopedias for a fraction of the price. Britannica saw this as a toy, not a threat. They believed their brand and authority were insurmountable. They were wrong. Encarta wasn't just cheaper, it was more convenient. It had search functionality. It had video clips. The market shifted rapidly. Britannica's sales plummeted. They tried to pivot, launching their own CD-ROM and later a website with a subscription model. But they were still operating under the old rules. They were selling a finished product. They were selling scarce, expert-vetted information. And they were about to be blindsided by a competitor that gave it all away for free, using a strategy that made the very idea of a finished product irrelevant. The story of Wikipedia begins with a failure. A project called Nupedia. In the year 2000, internet entrepreneur Jimmy Wales envisioned a free, online encyclopedia. But he wanted to replicate the authority of Britannica. His idea, Nupedia, would be written by experts and volunteers with verifiable credentials. To ensure quality, Nupedia had a grueling, 7-step academic peer review process. First, an article had to be assigned. Then, a qualified expert had to write it. It then went through peer review, copy editing, and another layer of final approval. The process was meticulous. It was designed to produce perfect, authoritative articles. And it was an absolute failure. In its first year, Nupedia published only 21 articles. The process was simply too slow, too bureaucratic. The friction was immense. It demanded perfection upfront, creating a bottleneck that stifled growth. Wales had successfully built a free online encyclopedia. But it was an empty library. The project was on the verge of collapse. The key insight came from one of Nupedia's editors, Larry Sanger. He had been exposed to a radical new concept developed by programmer Ward Cunningham. It was called a Wiki, a type of software that allowed any user to create and edit web pages directly in their browser. It was fast, open, and collaborative. Sanger proposed a wild idea. What if they used a wiki as a side project? A place to quickly generate draft articles that could then be fed into Nupedia's rigorous review process. It would be a feeder system, a creative sandbox. They called it Wikipedia, and it was about to eat its parent company alive. On January 15, 2001, Wikipedia went live. The floodgates opened. In its first month, it created over 600 articles. By the end of its first year, it had over 20,000 articles in 18 different languages. It was growing at a speed Nupedia could only dream of. Soon, the idea of using it as a feeder for Nupedia was abandoned. Wikipedia wasn't the side project. It was the main event. But this explosive growth created a new problem. How do you prevent a completely open, anonymous platform from descending into chaos, vandalism, and misinformation? The answer is the true strategic genius of Wikipedia. It wasn't the software. It was the creation of a powerful, self-governing community model built on three core policy pillars. These pillars act as the operating system for the entire project. Pillar 1. Neutral Point of View, NPOV. This is the most important rule. Articles must not take sides. They must represent all significant viewpoints fairly and without bias. This transforms editorial disputes from who is right to how can we represent all credible views. It's a mechanism for conflict resolution. Pillar 2. Verifiability. Content must be attributable to a reliable, published source. This means no original research. An editor cannot add their own opinions or discoveries. This outsources the burden of truth. Wikipedia doesn't decide what's true. It reflects what reliable sources have already published. Pillar 3. No firm rules. Beyond the core principles, Wikipedia is famously flexible. This allows the community to adapt and evolve its policies over time without being locked into a rigid structure. These three policies created a framework for productive collaboration among strangers. They built a system that could turn chaotic input into structured, reliable output. Vandalism, while a constant problem, was quickly identified and reverted by a legion of dedicated editors and automated bots. A 2005 study published in the journal Nature famously found that Wikipedia's accuracy on scientific articles was nearly on par with Encyclopedia Britannica. That study gave Wikipedia the one thing it desperately needed: legitimacy. And this is where we find the core secret to Wikipedia's strategy. Britannica and other traditional encyclopedias were in the business of selling a product: information. Their entire model was based on creating a finished, authoritative object and selling it for a high margin. Wikipedia did something far more radical. Its business wasn't selling information. Its business was building a platform for community curation. The product isn't the articles themselves. The product is the system, the wiki software combined with the core policies of NPOV and verifiability that allows a global community to collaboratively create and maintain those articles. This completely inverts the economic model. Britannica had massive upfront costs, paying experts, editors, and fact-checkers. Wikipedia offloaded all of that labor to volunteers who were motivated by passion, ideology, and the simple satisfaction of contributing to a global good. This is the power of what's now called crowdsourcing. More importantly, Wikipedia harnessed the power of network effects. Every new user who read an article was a potential new editor. Every new editor who made a correction or added a source made the platform slightly more valuable. This created a virtuous cycle. More editors led to more and better articles, which attracted more readers, some of whom would become editors. Its scale became its competitive moat. No competitor could ever hope to replicate its millions of articles and tens of thousands of active editors. They were too far behind. Wikipedia didn't just have a head start, it had achieved escape velocity. It wasn't just a better encyclopedia. It was an entirely new model for how knowledge could be created, curated, and shared. If you feel like you just had a light bulb moment about how community can be a business model, do us a favor and hit the like button and subscribe. It helps us know we're on the right track. The brilliance of the Wikipedia strategy is that it redefined the idea of value. For 200 years, the value of an encyclopedia was its finality, its authority, its completeness. It was a static snapshot of knowledge. Wikipedia's value is the opposite. It is a living, breathing organism. It is never finished. It is constantly being updated, corrected, and expanded in near real time. When a major world event happens, its Wikipedia page is often created and updated within minutes. No print encyclopedia could ever compete with that. The broader business principle here is monumental. Wikipedia demonstrated that a community, when given the right tools and a clear framework, can create more value than a centralized, top-down corporation. It is the ultimate example of an open-source model applied not to software, but to human knowledge itself. It proved that a business model based on participation can be more powerful and resilient than one based on ownership. It's a strategy that fundamentally changed how we think about information, authority, and the internet itself. If you learned something new, hit the like button and subscribe for more strategy breakdowns. And let us know in the comments, what company's strategy should we unlock next?